And we're live! Hey guys, I am Yolanda. I am co-founder of Harper Therapy. I am so excited to share with you guys today Rebecca's Angels. Thank you guys so much. So we have Rebecca Gregory, who is the founder of Rebecca's Angels. We have Tiffany Willis, who is the executive director. And we're just going to have a conversation about Rebecca's Angels and just the amazing work that you are doing. It's my hope and heart that in sharing these community resources that we just continue building this community of hope, growth, and healing, right? Because we're better together than we are apart.
Yes.
For sure.
Not the truth.
For sure. So, Rebecca's Angels, tell us the story behind Rebecca's Angels.
So in order to tell you the story behind Rebecca's Angels, I guess I have to go back to the day that you can now Google my name about.
Right, yeah.
I was 3 feet away from the first bomb that went off at the Boston Marathon in 2013, and I was not alone that day. Mm-hmm. And so we had gone up to Boston to watch a friend of ours run, and I had taken my 5-year-old son with me. Mm-hmm. And so I remember being at the 17-mile marker, and then one person in our group of about 9 said to go down to the actual finish so we could see our runner cross. And it was then that my son got really bored watching all the runners pass, and he was tugging on my clothes and asking me when we were going to leave. And I said, buddy, why don't you sit down on my feet and play in the rocks like you're a scientist? And there were no rocks. We were on asphalt, but to a 5-year-old, that was cool, luckily. And he took his place on my feet with his back up against my shins. And that's exactly where my little boy was when a bomb in a backpack went off 3 feet behind us. So I took everything in the back of the legs that day and shielded my son. He had a cut to his bone on his right leg that they were able to stitch up. He had a piece of shrapnel graze the back of his head. That was really it in terms of physical. And I went on to lose my left leg below the knee and had multiple surgeries and still have surgeries to this day. But it wasn't the physical that was the hard part. It was the emotional. Yeah. It was everything that we saw that day and those images that we couldn't get out of our head. I remember people's body parts laying next to us that were no longer attached to them. I was in a pool of my own blood. There were nails, ball bearings, speemies, everything that these brothers packed into these pressure cooker bombs. My bones were laying next to me on the sidewalk. Right. You know, if that was the scene that I saw, can you imagine seeing that at 5 years old?
Right, yeah.
And Rebecca's Angels, long story short, really came from searching for help for my son after he didn't want to leave the house and didn't want to interact with the world because he was scared and he was living in fear because his innocence was stolen from him that day. Right. And it really allowed me to see how many other children and families were suffering with their own kind of traumatic situations and not getting the help that was afforded to Noah and I.
Yeah, because you said your journey in finding help for the two of you, that was quite a journey in and of itself, right?
It was hard. I've been through multiple facets of therapy and just trying to figure out how to heal from something so traumatic. And I have a lot of childhood abuse as well and just different things that have happened in my life that has been compounded trauma. Right. And the bombing was really the icing on the cake for me and really what I decided, okay, I've got to figure this out. Yeah. There's got to be answers out there.
Yeah. So it became your passion to spread help and offer a way for other families who have experienced their own forms of trauma to find healing from that.
Exactly. I felt like this was giving us a purpose. Yeah. That all of the tragedy that my family and I had to endure, it was now coming full circle and giving us more purpose than I could ever imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's so powerful. Every time I hear it, I just get goosebumps. So that was the founding, never gets old, right? Yeah. Yeah. So that was the founding, and then tell us more about the services that Rebecca's Angels provides.
So we provide art therapy or accelerated resolution therapy to our recipients through a licensed art therapist such as Yolanda. Yeah. But we do help people from across the country. Yeah. And our preferred method of treatment is to have them do an intensive therapy session. So come in on a Sunday, leave on a Saturday, at least do 4 to 5 sessions of art therapy. If there is not an art therapist that is local to them, that's when we'll bring them to Orlando or even into Tampa. And then we, if financially we have the means, we'll help them with hotel stay and airfare. They are responsible for their transportation when they're in town and their food when they're in town. But we've just been very, very blessed with accelerated resolution therapy and have had great results. Yes.
Yeah, and that is actually the forum that we have been able to meet each other through is through the ART world, and we're all big proponents of that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because we know that it's pretty effective. So you are helping children and parents. So like, what types of clients apply, and what types of?
Absolutely. No, we help children and then their immediate family. So if it's a specific trauma, we want to treat the entire family.
Yeah.
Typically if it's a child that's experienced the trauma, sometimes it's siblings, sometimes it's mom, dad, sometimes it's grandma and grandpa, just who's ever been directly involved with that specific trauma and who wants the help and who's open to the healing.
And is ready to go on that journey.
We're very big on generational trauma. We want to stop that generational trauma.
We were just having this conversation before we started filming, right?
Yes.
Because the trauma just does continue kind of down the line until there's one person who's willing to stand up and say, it ends here. So oftentimes I'm guessing that that's the parents who are reaching out to you, or the older family members.
It is, and a lot of times people don't realize that if their child has been affected by something, then they have second-hand trauma themselves by going through whatever that child has gone through.
Right.
So if we can allow the whole family to heal versus just the child and put them back in that same situation, it's more effective, and we're starting they're starting a new chapter of life that way.
And as a whole unit, they're starting a new chapter of life. And so many times when a parent will reach out to us for help, and we'll say, we do offer services for the entire family, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I had never even considered myself, but I'm the one that's taken it all on. And while their heart's in the right place for getting help for their child, like Rebecca said, they're directly affected as well, especially emotionally.
So what do you wish people, each of you, what do you wish people knew about trauma that you've learned in your own journeys and through Rebecca's Angels and helping?
Well, I wish everyone knew that everyone needs a therapist at some point in their lives. And that we know some great ones, one of which is sitting right here. It's, our biggest thing with this is to really advocate and educate about trauma. Trauma can be so many different forms, and what is traumatic to one person may not be to another. But when we have these open conversations about it, when we don't put on this face that everything's okay and we've been through nothing and everything's this big highlight reel that you see on social media, when you say, you know what, my life is kind of a hot mess, then someone else is willing to open up and say, okay, that's where that connection comes from.
Totally,
That's what Rebecca's Angels is about.
Yeah.
We want to connect with people and say, you've been through some stuff.
Yeah.
We've been through some stuff.
Yeah.
Let us help you.
None of us get out of life without going through some kind of stuff.
And I think too, for my own personal, my own personal aspect is there is healing from trauma.
Yes.
There is the healing. It's not just get over it and deal with it. Like, it's not that good old boy mentality anymore.
Right. Pull yourself up about your bootstraps.
Exactly. There is help. There are resources. There are, and that's what, our main goal is, is to reach the people within our communities and let them know that there are resources here. And especially with accelerated resolution therapy, it's quick. And,
it's easy.
We've both been through it ourselves. So, to know that
all three of us have been through ART sessions.
And you're like, it works. You don't have to be stuck where you're at. Like, there is help. There is, we're not talking months and months and months and months and months of therapy. And, 3 years later, you're still rehashing the same situation. There's healing.
And it's not put a Band-Aid on it, flip a switch. It is like true deep healing. I love it. So how do people apply?
So they apply through our website. It's just an application process that we have, and then that is taken to our board, and that's when we decide if we have the funding, who we can help, and then we'll reach out. Typically, it's Tiffany is who everyone gets to talk to first, and she's just amazing, and we're so thankful
she is.
for
She's
Tiffany.
fantastic. Yeah.
Because she's really the first person that everyone meets when they apply and see that they got approved. So she's the first part of their healing.
And for those people who are like, yes, this is something that I really resonate with and feel passionately about, and I have healed from my own trauma, and I know these stories of resilience and hope and growth and healing, where do people go to give?
The same place.
Yeah,
the same place.
The same place. It's just a different little button you click on.
Yeah.
On our website, which is Rebecca'sAngels.org.
Yeah, because that's a big component too of we're better together than we are apart,
Absolutely.
right? And
the support is what we need because we can't do this alone.
Yeah.
None of us take paychecks. It goes 100% to the children and families that we help.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where we have so many applications that we have to have the funding in order to back that up. So funding is a very big portion of it. And
it always is.
It is. If $5 is just as great.
Oh,
if
absolutely.
Just whatever you can give, because it all makes a difference.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And think about how the impact to these kids' lives and how they will be different parents to their own children because they've gotten the help that they need.
We've said many times, we see the worst parts of humanity sometimes when we have these applications and you read through and it just breaks your heart because you want to help everyone.
Sure. Yeah.
But then on the other side of that, we get to see them or hear from them after they've gone through therapy.
That's what keeps you in the game right there.
Those messages that say Rebecca's Angels saved my life.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
It's just interesting because I think people kind of take that as like a phrase, like a catchphrase, but that is the truth.
Yeah.
That is
100%.
the truth.
100%.
100%. There are people alive today who would not be if they didn't get help through Rebecca's Angels and through ART.
And if kids go through their lives and they don't get the help that they need, then that turns into some other things. Violence and abuse and alcohol and drugs and you name
suicide and all of those things.
It's scary, and it's scary to know the world that we're living in now and the access to all the technology and the social media and the things that we didn't see 10 years ago are coming to the surface. Video game addiction. Like, we have seen some crazy things lately, and we have to get on top of it.
And that's where your passion shines through, and what you guys are doing with Rebecca's Angels is just changing our world, and I appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate you and all that you do.
We couldn't do it without you guys. We're just the middleman, and
we
are connecting the dots and making it
great middleman. Great team. Great team. Is there anything that I missed asking you guys that you'd like to share? Any other?
I don't think so.
Information?
We're just, you talked about Rebecca's Angels, but we're just as thankful for you and your team here at Harper Therapy. We get to we know that whoever we send to you, we trust you completely with, and we know that they're going to get the best care possible. So to have those kinds of people in place and to say, I know a great therapist that you're going to love and who's absolutely amazing and changing lives every day. I mean, that makes our jobs easier.
So much easier to know that, okay, we're sending you off to the right place. Yes, we're very blessed for that. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, we adore you guys. And thanks so much for coming in and sharing with everybody about Rebecca's Angels. Check out Rebecca's Angels, Rebecca'sAngels.org, and their Facebook is connected in this link as well. Thanks for coming in.
Thank
All right.
you so
Have a
much.
good day, guys.